There are pool projects, and then there are projects that stop being about pools altogether. The resurfacing of the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool has become one of the most politically charged aquatic construction stories in recent memory, dragging a relatively unknown contractor, Atlantic Industrial Coatings, directly into the center of a national media firestorm. What might otherwise have been viewed as a complex waterproofing and restoration project is now being debated across cable news, social media, mainstream newspapers, and Google reviews by people who have never hired the company, worked with the company, or in many cases, likely even heard of the company before last week. As the controversy intensified following reporting by the New York Times and other national media outlets, Atlantic Industrial Coatings' Google business profile was inundated with one-star reviews from non-customers condemning the company over the project, the politics surrounding it, and the reported ballooning cost of the renovation itself. Some reviewers accused the company of destroying a national monument. Others referenced the project's no-bid contract status, allegations of favoritism, and ties between the contractor and President Donald Trump. Several reviews contain no written explanation whatsoever, simply dropping the company's rating lower with anonymous one-star hits. For contractors in the pool and aquatic construction industry, the situation raises a difficult question. What happens when taking on a nationally visible project turns your business into collateral damage in a political war you never intended to participate in? Review bombing is hardly new. Restaurants, hotels, brands, entertainers, and public figures have all experienced it at one time or another. But the reflecting pool controversy highlights how vulnerable contractors can be when political outrage spills into business platforms that were originally intended to measure customer satisfaction. Atlantic Industrial Coatings currently sits with a devastatingly low Google rating following a flood of politically motivated reviews. Many of the posts appear to come from individuals who were never customers and never interacted with the company in any traditional business capacity. That distinction is important. Google reviews were originally designed to help consumers evaluate legitimate customer experiences. Did the contractor show up? Was the workmanship good? Did the company honor its warranty? Was communication professional? Those are the kinds of things reviews are supposed to reflect. Instead, Atlantic Industrial Coatings is being judged by people reacting to headlines, politics, presidential associations, and media narratives surrounding the reflecting pool restoration. To those in the trade listening to this, that may feel deeply unfair. A company can spend years building its reputation one project at a time only to watch its online presence get torched in a matter of days because of a politically radioactive contract. At the same time, there is another side to this discussion that cannot simply be dismissed. To be clear, the backlash here did not emerge out of thin air. The core issue driving public outrage is not merely the coating color or aesthetic concerns surrounding the reflecting pool. The controversy centers on allegations reported by major national media outlets that a renovation originally discussed publicly as a roughly $1.8 million repair project reportedly ballooned into $13.1 million without a competitive bidding process. That scrutiny intensified even further after preservation groups filed suit attempting to stop the project altogether, arguing the Trump administration bypassed historic review procedures and oversight protections surrounding one of Washington's most iconic landmarks. Critics argue that a taxpayer-funded restoration project tied to the Lincoln Memorial deserves intense public scrutiny, especially if normal procurement channels and preservation reviews were circumvented. Those are legitimate public interest questions. It's also true that Atlantic Industrial Coatings had never previously held a federal contract before being awarded the reflecting pool project, further fueling criticism surrounding the administration's selection of the company. At the same time, President Trump publicly described the contractor as a guy who's unbelievable at doing swimming pools, who had worked on projects connected to his properties. Industry experts have also raised legitimate technical concerns about the renovation itself. Tim Auer-Hahn, chairman of the Aquatic Council, told the New York Times that the reflecting pool's long-standing algae and filtration issues would not simply disappear because the basin was coated blue, stating plainly, painting is not going to solve that problem. It is not unreasonable for journalists, watchdog groups, preservation advocates, or even members of the pool industry itself to question how a federal project increased in scope and cost so dramatically, or whether the work being performed fully addresses the reflecting pool's underlying structural and mechanical problems. The problem is that public scrutiny surrounding a project can quickly become public punishment of the contractor itself. And those are not necessarily the same thing. Contractors rarely control the politics around a job. One of the realities of working in construction, especially at the commercial or municipal level, is that contractors often inherit political baggage they did not create. A contractor may bid or accept work based on technical specifications, project scope, deadlines, and compensation. They are not necessarily the architects of procurement policy, government oversight, or political messaging surrounding the project. If the reports are accurate that Atlantic Industrial Coatings was brought in under accelerated timelines for a nationally scrutinized restoration effort, they may simply have been the company willing and capable of executing the work under extraordinary pressure. That distinction is important because the online reaction increasingly treats the contractor as though they were personally responsible for every political decision tied to the project. For contractors watching this unfold, the message is unsettling. Take on a politically sensitive project, and your business may become permanently associated with national controversy, whether you intended that or not. The optics surrounding the project became even more combustible once national reporting began characterizing Atlantic Industrial Coatings as connected to Trump properties and previous work involving the president's golf clubs. Fair or unfair, that framing changed the narrative instantly. The company was no longer simply a contractor restoring a reflecting basin. It became, in the public imagination, Trump's pool contractor. In today's hyperpolarized climate, that label alone was enough to trigger backlash regardless of the technical merits of the work itself. For some people, the project immediately became symbolic of broader grievances involving politics, government spending, favoritism, and executive power. Once that happened, Atlantic Industrial Coatings was no longer operating inside the normal rules of reputation management. They became a proxy target. Is Google responsible for fixing this? That question is becoming increasingly difficult for platforms to ignore. Google's policies prohibit reviews from people who did not have a legitimate experience with a business, and many of the reviews targeting Atlantic Industrial Coatings appear to fall squarely into that category. Several are openly political, some contain no actual review content, and others seem tied entirely to reactions from national news coverage rather than first-hand customer experiences. At the same time, the situation is more nuanced than a traditional fake review campaign. Critics would argue the company accepted a highly visible public contract tied to taxpayer money, historic preservation concerns, and a politically charged administration. Supporters counter that Google reviews were never intended to become a public referendum on politics or presidential decision-making. That's really the issue. Atlantic Industrial Coatings is not being judged primarily on workmanship, communication, or customer satisfaction. The company is being judged on a national controversy surrounding a project most reviewers have no direct connection to. For contractors, that's a troubling precedent. Because once online review systems become vehicles for political outrage rather than legitimate customer feedback, any company attached to a controversial public project can find its reputation under attack regardless of the quality of its work, suddenly becoming one headline away from being the next target. Thanks for listening in to Pool Magazine. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest news, products, and trends happening in the pool world.